Welcome to a half hour of MINDWEBS, short stories from the worlds of speculative fiction. This is Michael Hanson with two stories this half hour. We'll begin with something by Roger Zelazny. It comes from his book, The Doors of His Face, The Lamps of His Mouth, and Other Stories. The title is The Great Slow Kings. Drax and Dran sat in the great throne hall of Glan, discussing life. Monarchs by virtue of superior intellect and physique, and the fact that they were the last two survivors of the race of Glan. Theirs was a divided rule over the planet and their one subject, Zindrome, the palace robot. Drax had been musing for the past 4 centuries, theirs was a sluggish sort, over the possibility of life on other planets in the galaxy. Accordingly, Drax addressed Dran.
Dran, I've been thinking. There may be life on other planets in the galaxy.
Dran considered his reply to this as the world wheeled several times about its sun, and he finally agreed.
True, there may be life on other planets in the galaxy.
After several months, Drax shot back.
If there is, we ought to find out. Why?
Asked Dran with equal promptness, which caused the other to suspect that he too had been thinking along these lines. So he measured his next statement out cautiously, first testing each word within the plated retort of his reptilian skull.
Our kingdom is rather underpopulated at present. It would be good to have many subjects once more.
Dran regarded him askance, then slowly turned his head. He closed one eye and half closed the other, taking full stock of his co-ruler, whose appearance, as he suspected, was unchanged since the last time he had looked.
That also is true. What do you suggest we do?
This time, Drax turned, reappraising him, eye to eye.
I think we ought to find out if there is life on other planets in the galaxy.
Two quick roundings of the seasons went unnoticed. And then, Dran said,
Let me think about it.
After what he deemed a polite period of time, Drax coughed.
Have you thought sufficiently? No.
Drax struggled to focus his eyes on the near subliminal streak of bluish light which traversed, retraversed, and re-retraversed the hall as he waited. And finally, he called out,
Zindrome.
The robot slowed his movements to a statue-like immobility to accommodate his master. A feather duster protruded from his right limb.
You called, Great Lord of Glan?
Yes, Zindrome, worthy subject. Those old spaceships which we constructed in happier days and never got around to using, are any of them still capable of operation?
I'll check, Great Lord.
He seemed to change position slightly.
There are 382, of which 4 are in functioning condition, Great Lord. I've checked all the operating circuits.
Drax, you are arrogating unauthorized powers to yourself once more. You should have conferred with me before issuing that order.
I apologize.
I simply wanted to expedite matters should your decision be that we conduct a survey. You have anticipated my decision correctly, but your eagerness seems to bespeak a hidden purpose. No purpose but the good of the realm. That may be. But the last time you spoke of the good of the realm, the civil strife which ensued cost us our other robot.
Oh, I have learned my lesson and profited thereby. I shall be more judicious in the future.
I hope so. Now, about this expedition, which part of the galaxy do you intend to investigate first?
A tension-filled pause ensued. I had assumed that you would conduct the expedition. Being the more mature monarch, yours should be a more adequate decision as to whether or not a particular species is worthy of our enlightened rule.
Yes, but your youth tends to make you more active than I. The journey should be more expeditiously conducted by you.
We could both go in separate ships. That would be truly expeditious. Their heated debating was cut short by a metallic cough equivalent.
Masters, the half-life of radioactive materials being as ephemeral as it is, I regret to report that only one spaceship is now in operational condition.
That settles it, Dran. You go. It will require a steadier RAN to manage an underpowered ship.
And leave you to foment civil strife and usurp unfranchised powers? No, you go.
I suppose we could both go.
Fine. Leave the kingdom leaderless. That is the kind of muddle-headed thinking which brought about our present political embarrassment.
Masters, if someone doesn't go soon, the ship will be useless.
They both studied their servant, approving the rapid chain of logic forged by his simple statement.
Very well. You go.
Zindrome bowed quite obsequiously and departed from the great throne hall of Glan.
Perhaps we should authorize Zindrome to construct facsimiles of himself. If we had more subjects, we could accomplish more.
Are you forgetting our most recent agreement? A superfluity of robots tended to stimulate factionalism last time, and certain people grew ambitious. His voice trailed off over the years.
I am not certain as to whether your last allusion contains a hidden accusation. If so, permit me to caution you concerning rashness, and to remind you who it was who engineered the Mono-Robot Protection Pact.
Do you believe things will be different in the case of a multitude of organic subjects?
Definitely. There is a certain irrational element in the rationale of the organic being, making it less amenable to direct orders than a machine would be. Our robots, at least, were faithful when we ordered them to destroy one another. Irresponsible organic subjects either do it without being told, which is boorish, or refuse to do it when you order them, which is insubordination.
Drax smiled, unearthing a gem he had preserved for millennia against this occasion.
That's true. Concerning organic life, the only statement which can be made with certainty is that life is uncertain.
Dran narrowed his eyes to slits.
Let me ponder that a moment. Drax, like much of your thinking, that seems to smack of a concealed sophistry.
It contains none, I assure you.
It is the fruit of much meditation.
Dran's pondering was cut short by the arrival of Zindrome, who clutched two brownish blurs beneath his metal arms.
Back already, Zindrome? What have you there? Slow them down so we can see them.
They are under sedation at present, great masters. It is the movements caused by their breathing which produce the unpleasant vibration pattern on your retinas. To subject them to more narcosis could prove deleterious.
Nevertheless, we must appraise our new subjects carefully. That requires that we see them. Slow them down some more, Zindrome.
Drax, somewhat distracted by the sudden appearance of the two hairy bipeds, said,
You gave that order without... warm-blooded?
Yes, Lord.
That bespeaks a very brief lifespan. True. But that kind tends to reproduce quite rapidly. Yes, that observation tends to be correct. Zindrome, tell me, do they represent the sexes necessary for reproduction?
Yes, Master. There are two sexes among these anthropoids, so I brought one of each.
That was very wise. Where did you find them?
Several billion light years from here.
Turn these two loose outside and go fetch us some more.
The creatures vanished. Zindrome appeared not to have moved.
Have you the fuel necessary for another such journey?
Yes, my lord. More of it has evolved recently.
Excellent.
The robot departed.
What sort of governmental setup should we inaugurate this time? Let us review the arguments for the various types. A good idea.
In the midst of their discussion, Zindrome returned and stood waiting to be recognized.
What is it, Zindrome? Did you forget something?
No, great lords. When I returned to the world from which I obtained the samples, I discovered that the race had progressed to the point where it developed fission processes, engaged in an atomic war, and annihilated itself.
That was extremely inconsiderate. Typical, however, I should say, of warm-blooded instability.
Zindrome continued to shift.
Have you something else to report?
Yes, great masters. The two specimens I released have multiplied and are now spread over the entire planet of Glan.
We should have been advised.
Yes, great lords, but I was absent and...
They themselves should have reported this action.
Masters, I am afraid they are unaware of your existence.
How could that have happened?
We are presently buried beneath several thousand layers of alluvial rock. The geological shifting.
You have your orders to maintain the place, Zindrome, and clean the grounds. Have you been frittering away your time again?
No, great lords. It all occurred during my absence. I shall attend to it immediately.
First, tell us what else our subjects have been up to that they saw fit to conceal from us.
Recently, they have discovered how to forge and temper metals. Upon landing, I observed that they had developed many ingenious instruments of a cutting variety. Unfortunately, they were using them to cut one another.
Do you mean that there is strife in the kingdom?
Yes, my lord.
I will not brook unauthorized violence among my subjects.
Drax added with a meaningful glare.
Our subjects.
Our subjects. We must take immediate action.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I shall issue orders forbidding their engagement in activities leading to bloodshed.
I presume that you mean a joint proclamation?
Of course, I was not slighting you. I was simply shaken by the civil emergency. We shall draft an official proclamation. Let Zindrome fetch us writing instruments. Zindrome, fetch.
I have them here, my lords.
Now, let me see. How shall we phrase it?
Perhaps I should clean the palace while your excellencies...
No, wait right here. This will be very brief and to the point. We hereby proclaim. Don't forget our titles. True. We, the imperial monarchs of Glan, here beneath undersigned, do hereby...
A feeble pulse of gamma rays passed unnoticed by the two rulers. The faithful Zindrome diagnosed its nature, however, and tried unsuccessfully to obtain his monarch's attention. Finally, he dismissed the project with a stoical gesture typical of his kind. He waited.
There, now you can tell us what you have been trying to say, Zindrome, but make it brief. You must deliver this soon.
It is already too late, great lords. This race also progressed into civilized states, developed nuclear energy, and eradicated itself while you were writing.
Barbarous. Warm-blooded irresponsibility.
May I go clean up now, great masters?
Soon, Zindrome, soon. First, though, I move that we file the proclamation in the archives for future use in the event of similar occurrences.
Dran nodded.
Yes, I agree. We so order.
The robot accepted the crumbling proclamation and vanished from sight.
You know, there must be lots of radioactive material lying about now. There probably is. It could be used to fuel a ship for another expedition. Perhaps. This time we could instruct Zindrome to bring back something with a longer lifespan and more deliberate habits, something nearer our own. That would have its dangers, but perhaps we could junk the mono-robot protection pact and order Zindrome to manufacture extras of himself under strict supervision. That would have its dangers, too. At any rate, I should have to ponder your suggestion carefully. And I yours. It's been a busy day. Let's sleep on it. A good idea.
Sounds of saurian snoring emerged from the great throne hall of Glan. This story is Earthman Bearing Gifts by Fredric Brown. One of the places in which it appears is a collection edited by Groff Conklin, which is titled 12 Great Classics of Science Fiction. Dar Rai sat alone in his room, meditating. From outside the door, he caught a thought wave equivalent to a knock, and glancing at the door, he willed it to slide open. It opened.
"Enter, my friend,"
he said. He could have projected the idea telepathically, but with only two persons present, speech was more polite. Eon Key entered.
"You are up late tonight, my leader." "Yes, Key. Within an hour, the Earth rocket is due to land, and I wish to see it. Yes, I know it'll land 1,000 miles away if their calculations are correct, beyond the horizon. But if it lands even twice that far, the flash of the atomic explosion should be visible. And I have waited long for first contact. For even though no Earthman will be on that rocket, it still will be first contact for them. Of course, our telepath teams have been reading their thoughts for many centuries, but this will be the first physical contact between Mars and Earth.
Key made himself comfortable on one of the low chairs.
True, I have not followed recent reports too closely, though. Why are they using an atomic warhead? I know they suppose our planet is uninhabited, but still. They will watch the flash through their lunar telescopes and get a what do they call it, a spectroscopic analysis. That'll tell them more than they know now, or think they know, much of it is erroneous, about the atmosphere of our planet and the composition of its surface. It is, call it a sighting shot, Key. They'll be here in person within a few oppositions, and then...
Mars was holding out, waiting for Earth to come. What was left of Mars, that is, this one small city of about 900 beings. The civilization of Mars was older than that of Earth, but it was a dying one. This was what remained of it. One city, 900 people. They were waiting for Earth to make contact, for a selfish reason and for an unselfish one. Martian civilization had developed in a quite different direction from that of Earth. It had developed no important knowledge of the physical sciences, no technology, but it had developed social sciences to the point where there had not been a single crime, let alone a war, on Mars for 50,000 years. And it had developed fully the parapsychological sciences of the mind, which Earth was just beginning to discover. Mars could teach Earth much, how to avoid crime and war to begin with. Beyond those simple things lay telepathy, telekinesis, empathy. And Earth would, Mars hoped, teach them something even more valuable to Mars, how by science and technology, which it was too late for Mars to develop now, even if they had the type of minds which would enable them to develop these things, to restore and rehabilitate a dying planet so that an otherwise dying race might live and multiply again. Each planet would gain greatly, and neither would lose. And tonight was the night when Earth would make its first sighting shot. Its next shot, a rocket containing Earthmen, or at least an Earthman, would be at the next opposition 2 Earth years, or roughly 4 Martian years hence. The Martians knew this because their teams of telepaths were able to catch at least some of the thoughts of Earthmen, enough to know their plans. Unfortunately, at that distance, the connection was one way. Mars could not ask Earth to hurry its program or tell Earth scientists the facts about Mars' composition and atmosphere, which would have made this preliminary shot unnecessary. Tonight, Rye, the leader, as nearly as the Martian word can be translated, and Key, his administrative assistant and closest friend, sat and meditated together until the time was near. Then they drank a toast to the future in a beverage based on menthol, which had the same effect on Martians as alcohol on Earthmen. And they climbed to the roof of the building in which they had been sitting. They watched toward the north, where the rocket should land. The stars shone brilliantly and unwinkingly through the atmosphere. In Observatory Number 1 on Earth's moon, Raj Everett, his eye at the eyepiece of the spotter scope, said triumphantly,
"Well, there she blew, Willie. And now, as soon as the films are developed, we'll know the score on that old planet Mars."
He straightened up. There'd be no more to see now, and he and Willie Sanger shook hands solemnly. It was an historic occasion.
"I hope it didn't kill anybody, any Martians, that is, Raj. Did it hit dead center in Syrtis Major?" "Well, near as matters, I'd say it was maybe 1,000 miles off to the south, and that's damn close on a 50-million-mile shot. Willie, do you really think there are any Martians?
Willie thought a second and then said,
Nah,